Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to L2PS2 episode 24 here on January 12th, 2015. We probably have a few opening notes, I guess, things that I should speak about before we get underway. I'll try to make them brief. I guess just a heads up that this is now at its 9 p.m. Eastern as opposed to 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Just bumped it up a half hour as what the from the previous episode. Still on Monday night, still here on the twitch.tv/PlanetSide2 channel. But it's starting at 9 o'clock Eastern or 6 o'clock Pacific instead of 9:30 or 6:30. Going forth, at least until or if SOE tells me that I need to go back to my old time slot. That is happening because, a number of reasons, but one of them, chief among them, hey Maggie, how's it going? Is welcome back home, by the way, from SWC. But chief among them is a new position and new schedule at work at my actual job, starting this month. So starting just a couple of days ago or a week and a half ago or so. That's keeping me a lot busier, getting up earlier, things like that. And also, at this very moment in time, I'm helping my family prepare for a huge move. Really like going through 25 years worth of storage and hoarding or whatever you want to call it, as well as just moving furniture and all sorts of crazy things that's consuming my night times at the moment. So we've been busy, but nonetheless, I'm still here. I'm still doing L2PS2 each week. 9 p.m. Eastern, Monday nights. We've got some crazy stuff going on in the coming 8 days or so. We've got H1Z1 early access starting this Thursday, just three days from now, January 15th. I'll be playing a lot of that. I'll be streaming that over on my channel at ItZMuRdA.com. And we've got the PS2 on PS4, the PlanetSide to PlayStation 4 closed beta starting next week, Tuesday, January 20th, which I'll also be playing and streaming on my own channel, maybe even do an episode or a few of L2PS2 dedicated to it, as long as I'm not completely awful with a controller, as I might very well be. Nonetheless, I'll be learning the game, getting the hang of the controls and the UI and everything so that I can better give you guys feedback and answer questions on that control scheme. So there's a lot of things going on. I guess suffice to say, slight schedule change, and the only thing really else other than that might change is some delay or lapse in my normal streams on my channel, since I usually try to stream like 6 nights a week, and if you've noticed this past week, that's definitely not been the case. So some of my normal streams, there might be a delay or lapse in between them, just as I do whatever I got to do to handle my business. But I appreciate your patience and understanding, and I'll definitely still be here for the L2PS2s and the H1Z1 early access launch and PS2 and PS4 beta launch, and hopefully be back to normal. It's really just a short-term thing, so in the long run, I don't really think it'll have an impact. But thank you guys for letting me talk about that nonetheless, and for your patience and understanding with everything. Really appreciate it. So yeah, raw lucidity. Getting into the show and who I am and whatnot, my name is ItZMuRdA, if that wasn't already obvious. These are my 4 main characters, as Raw Lucidity just pointed out. They are all BR100. That may mean that I have a lot of time on my hands, or I'm efficient with EXP. I was referred to as the mildly overzealous EXP connoisseur in PlanetSide 1. That was my tagline. I didn't make it for myself. Somebody else, my old outfit leader, came up with it. But anyway, yeah. That being said, across all 3 empires, mostly on Emerald, 3 of them are on Emerald, 1 on Connery with Future Crew. I'd like to think that I have a pretty good grasp on the various empires and weapons and choices and cats at this point in time. And I'm here to hopefully help answer questions, give feedback, and thought processes that are going on in my mind while I'm making decisions when I'm playing the game. That's kind of what the show is all about. Takes the approach of hopefully helping new players out, but also hopefully something enjoyable for veterans alike. And we have cats. There's actually a rare spawn cat down there at the moment. Bailey's here. I'm gonna log in game. Just I'm gonna play Vanu since Maggie's here. But the other cat, BB's back there somewhere. BB Decal is supposedly, hopefully, coming to an in-game depot near you in the near future. I just don't know exactly when, especially since Taylor said there was going to be a delay in the depot in January. So we'll see how that pans out. Just switching my colors real quick. You can do this yourself if you want. If you feel like you'd do better than the default colors, you're welcome to change them up. What do we got going on here? I'm just gonna turn on our heroic boost to the live. I don't want to use a resource boost. All right. Yeah, Minnie. I don't know, man. Maybe. I'm still holding out for Reach Cat also. So anyway, colors is just a personal preference color scheme going on here. Looks like probably colorblind mode or something very bizarre compared to the default, but it's just a personal preference having friendlies as a white or grayish color and then the enemies as 2 shades of red, so there's no mistake when switching between umpires who's a friendly and who's a foe. I hope that it's just you, IMDT, even though you can't hear me if you have no sound, because all things are good sound-wise on my end, and it would be a terrible misfortune if I've been speaking this entire time without sound. I don't actually know X-Raptor. I don't have any, insider info or anything like that on the detail of that. I don't even know if they know at this point. It's probably just the sort of thing that it'll last as long as it needs to last for them to feel comfortable with the game. It might very well merge into open beta and then kind of open release of the game, like it often does with with free-to-play games like this. Even in PlanetSide 2 on PC, you kind of saw that. Then you joked that it was in beta, or is it still in beta, much longer than it actually was. I would have been personally a proponent of keeping it in beta a little bit longer. I feel like the quote-unquote release was a little rushed personally. And that they would have done better to have more of the features, especially the new player experience and stuff like that, in before they launched. So hopefully they kind of learn from the PC launch and are in a much better shape for getting new players into the game and keeping them there long term with the when they decide to actually either open up the PS4 version of the game to the public or have an official launch, so to speak. That being said, closed beta launches are still really important these days, so they gotta make sure all their ducks are in a row, of course. It's not going to be cross-platform just for a handful of reasons. I guess mostly stemming from the fact that there's just a huge disparity in a number of things. The control scheme being controller versus keyboard and mouse, as well as the fact that you've got 2+ years of experience, both literal experience in terms of battle rank 100s and hundreds of thousands of certs and things like that on characters on the PC game, as well as just experience with the game mechanics themselves. It would just be kind of unfair, I think, and create a less than desirable new player experience. So, technical hurdles aside, I think it makes sense to keep them separate, as fun as it might be. Yeah, so Glitcher, thank you for mentioning that, because I don't know if I did or not. That was one of the things I was going to mention in those little opening comments that I had as I was trying to remember everything that I wanted to say. But we had this discussion last week, and I always kind of prefer 720p 60 FPS when I stream on my channel, since the capture card that I have doesn't support 1080p 60. That's kind of an eventual goal, of course, to stream at that and get the best of both worlds. But when I had to have made the choice between the two, I've always preferred 720p 60 personally. But that's what I've streamed on my own channel. When I tend to stream either on the official channel for L2PS2 or do anything that I know is going directly to YouTube, I always did 1080p 30 FPS because YouTube used to be capped at 30 FPS. That's no longer the case, as you may or may not know, and as folks pointed out last week when we were having this discussion. So I said, you know what, this week I'm going to try to just use my normal 720p 60 settings, see what you guys think. So love to elicit feedback both from the chat as well as anybody watching the VOD after the fact, if you prefer this sort of 60 FPS setup. Still the same bitrate, but may sacrifice a little bit in terms of resolution. Oh, well, we didn't want to do that, but really screwed ourselves now. But curious to know what you think. Ultimately, I'll be shooting to make the necessary upgrades to be running 1080p 60. But for the time being, when I have to make the choice, give me your feedback. I'm curious. So this is kind of a weird situation that I'm in, and one that I typically would run like a Pulsar C, and you see me using the Eclipse there, the directive weapon, which is alright, but not really ideal for very long ranges. I grabbed a Pulsar C here. One of my favorite carbines, or even just weapons in general in the game. As long as I'm playing light assault, I don't necessarily have to be at this point to probably snipe or something like that, but given the importance of the kind of advantage of being able to get up on this hill, light assault, you run into a little bit of an issue. That's a hell of a lot of screen shake. I don't know if those are rocket pods or what. Lib bombs. Run into a little bit of an issue at very close quarters if somebody does sneak up on you. Also a little bit harder to hip fire with it. But ideally, I don't really want to go flying down that hill. Ideally, when you have, folks, standing relatively still, thinking that they're safe at a distance, like down in here. Of course, I'm not safe because they've got 1,000,001 snipers that unfortunately do have line of sight on the top of our hill. Drop them pretty quick with a Pulsar C. So yeah, I mean, the PS4 beta should be pretty up to snuff with where the live game is in terms of content and continents and things like that. It's also, yeah, that's a terrible idea. It's also, in the future may be delayed in terms of getting patches out just because of the different sort of approval process that you need to go through on PlayStation versus SOE's very own game on PC. So that's another reason for the difference in, you can even see at this range, it's kind of ridiculous. I kind of have a little bit of a head glitch going myself, trying not to expose too much of my body, and I'm sitting here with a 1x scope. Of course, you could use a higher magnification or a different weapon that has access to even higher magnification scopes if that's your thing. But it's still mowing people down, given the damage and accuracy, especially if you burst with the Pulsar C. So goes to show, kind of at extreme ranges, I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing this all the time, but I just kind of happened upon this hill while I was blabbing about. But yeah, that was another reason for the no cross-platform, separate servers sort of thing, is that they may be getting patches at different times just due to I don't want to say technical barricades, but I don't know how else to explain it. And you'd either have to hold back the PC patch or force a PS4 patch. I don't know. It would just be a little bit awkward. But other than that, they're still going to be getting the same content. It may just not always be at the exact same date. But yeah, Wisdom, it'll be out 8 days from now on the 20th, next Tuesday. And looking forward to it. I'll be playing it over on my stream, and actually, since I'll be streaming on Monday, maybe I'll have a week to warm up and feel semi-comfortable with streaming it on the following, what's that, the 26th, that Monday, on L2PS2. If I'm gonna just die over and over because I'm terrible with a controller, that's not very helpful, but I think it should hopefully be an enjoyable show nonetheless. Hopefully an informative one at that. Yeah, Art, I'm not really sure on number of people. I know it's going to be in waves, and I'm sure there's a starting point that's somewhat more conservative while they see how the servers handle everything, and then and kind of go up from there. I'm just taking a look at some other fights because this one's getting a little far out there. As far as H1Z1 front, yeah, I don't know exactly the whole models of early access yet. I believe the original plan was to have a premium pre-order sort of thing that you can get, kind of like Alpha Squad or the Founders Packs for Landmark and things like that, and then just a buy-in for early access that's like a $19, $20 thing that you can get, and it's going straight through Steam, which is probably pretty convenient for both parties. So you can grab that on Thursday, pick it up for $20 if you're interested in playing. There may be alternative ways to get in, key giveaways or something like that. I'm really not sure, but that's a surefire way to do so. And I also know they're doing some interesting things with streamers. I hope to be a part of that, but I don't know. I'm just speaking out of turn almost. But they're doing some interesting things with streamers and getting them whitelisted in servers and stuff like that, so that the they can enjoy the launch and so can their viewers. So I don't know exactly what it holds for us yet, but I'm looking forward to it. I'll get in on whatever action I can. Jumping over to Nettlemeyer here from the Reinforcements Needed tab. It's another I think feature or function that folks don't think of to use often, that can hop them around the map pretty well into a more desirable fight. I'm sorry, Mithras. It's not mine, but it is there nonetheless. What's up, Wave? How long did it take for 4 BR100s? I really don't know off the top of my head. It's such a hard thing to gauge in terms of that. I've been playing since the game came out. I've been playing since beta, and I've had them all at BR100 for, oh geez, I don't even remember now. Probably the past 4 or 5 months, something like that. But my ability to play has varied so much with time. There was a time where when the game first came out where I was playing like at least 40 hours a week, probably more than that at times. There was a time where I had to take like a month and a half off to handle some stuff, and I really hardly played at all. And then there's kind of the more recent, where I only get to play maybe 10, 20 hours a week due to work and other obligations. So it's I don't get to play as much as I'd like to be able to, that's for sure. But it's been a gradual process over 2 years or so to actually go ahead and do that. I don't want to be TKing these guys. So you see me playing a lot of Light Assault. You see a lot of guys just getting rezzed here, which, why not grab those kills? Unfortunately, he nailed that guy that ran in front of me. I'll apologize to him in a second. But Light Assault is generally my favored class, and kind of what I just default to when I have no particular reason to be playing something else. It's also the class that I kind of feel most confident at and that I play the best, but I think I play each of them enough to feel comfortable in any of the roles. It's just I usually require a certain situation to say, oh, you know what, I'm going to go switch and play medic or NG or infill or heavy or max in this particular situation because reason XYZ. And that's not anything more than really a personal preference, what I got used to and what I ended up getting good at playing. But I think starting out with, kind of a more specific tool set, maybe 1 or 2 classes or something like that you feel really comfortable in or with, that you can spend some certs on and stuff like that, and then ultimately I think at least you'll want to move into kind of becoming very comfortable with all of them, because you're always going to at least have the potential to do better if you can afford to switch classes depending on the situation that you're in. Because even if I play Light Assault all day long, there'll be some situations where it's like, you know what, I either need to switch classes or find a different fight if I want to, maintain efficiency here, because I just need to be playing infill or heavy or something like that in order to be as competitive as possible. If you just want to have fun, then by all means do whatever works for you. No, I'm not Zach Awesome. I'm using OBS, Open Broadcaster Software. And I actually have a little bit of a convoluted, complicated setup with a capture card and a second PC for streaming. It's overkill in the sense that you can certainly stream with less, but helpful if you want to take streaming really seriously and do it as a on a daily basis and maximize your quality without hurting your own ability to play the game at a reasonable frame rate and things like that. We've got so many res grenades and such going out right now. This is absurd. Super Mr. Card, are you referring to the same thing as the World Record event or a separate thing? Just so I'm clear, because I will be participating in the World Record event in some capacity, but usually work during normal server smashes and things like that, so I'm not always able to do that. I probably didn't need to take that res. Usually can either just hit an instant action, see where it wants to take me. Maybe I want to go to Akin Data Hub, but I'm going to redeploy first and check out the reinforcements needed. I was using the Pulsar C. At the moment I'm using the Eclipse, the directive weapon. Speaking of which, Higby announced earlier today on Twitter that the VS directive weapons are going to get an overhaul in the sense that they're going to get a few more rounds in the effective magazine, but you won't be able to reload them to clear your heat, which is an interesting change. Perhaps for the better, although I'm a compulsive reloader even when I use them. So hopefully if you hit the R button or whatever your reload keybind is, nothing happens after that change, because if it makes you reload and it's just a waste of time, then that's going to be a really frustrating habit to break and probably a turnoff for the weapons entirely. But I would think that they wouldn't do that. They would just make it so that they nothing is triggered when you try to reload. Just running through the reinforcements needed real quick. That might change over pretty soon. Yeah, we just got bunker. I'm gonna hop up to there. I'm glad to hear that about the 60 FPS, man. I feel bad that it took me 24 episodes to get that feedback, and it's not that it's anybody's fault. I just always figured folks preferred, having a 1080p option on YouTube and whatever. But curious to hear. Works well by me, man. I always preferred 60 FPS as well. So still using the Eclipse here. Having it's a little bit more trigger discipline and maybe patience or accuracy or ability to burst fire at that sort of a range compared to Pulsar C. Would have probably had a much easier time taking those guys out. There's still an infill somewhere. It's the other guys that I think have all been taken out now. Kind of expected them to be a little bit closer to this base. Zarrington, Future Crew is my primary outfit that I play with on VS Connery in terms of an outfit affiliation goes. But I'm in a handful of old school PS1 outfits, some which have even made an attempt to reclaim their former fame, such as AC, which is the outfit that I'm in on this character on VSMRL. But as more of a friend rank social person, I don't actually play on their competitive teams or anything like that. And then my NCTR outfits are really just kind of retired at this point, same sort of thing. Some old school PS1 outfits, the Overlords and 1CMM. Oh, it was probably a waste. I don't really want to get in line of sight of that Sunder HMG. Wow, that was really awful. I guess you'll have to watch out for triggering the full heat mechanic. Overheating, I guess, would be the best term for it as well, as opposed to just triggering a reload. Oh boy, it's a little dangerous. There's a guy to my right and a guy to my left. Yeah, that's true. They you guys are playing it on more than anything right now. Yep, I'm the only guy online. Look at that. Yeah, I guess that's a albeit unfortunate, Mithras. That's an interesting standpoint from a viewer perspective. I always loved watching 60 FPS. I remember when Kudo was streaming at 60 FPS like 2 years ago, and I was watching his stream at times when I wasn't streaming myself, and I was just like, man, that looks really good from a viewer standpoint. All right, so this base is kind of over. Sunder dead, just some stragglers, not really worth it in my opinion. Redeploying out of there. First I checked the instant action. It was one of the Mulak satellites with only 1 to 12 people at it. Yeah, Mulak purification, not worth going there. So again, just checking the reinforcements needed. Nettlemeyer may have gotten some reinforcements on the TR end. It's possible. Hard to say. What I'm going to do at the moment, while I just let the map adjust real quick, is give away a polar bear decal, which is somewhat hard to see depending on what thing you're wearing. There you go, polar bear decal. It's for infantry and armor, and vehicles alike. And normally I give away at least one of these each week on this show, as well as at other points in time on my various social media. And you also get one for subscribing to my Twitch channel if you don't already have one of those. So I'm going to give one away real quick. It's going to just show up in the bottom portion of the screen. You can type in the code right here and redeem a code, or if you log into planetside2.com, enter activation code in that section. First come, first serve. It's just a one-time use code, but I do give them out every week. So that'll be the first giveaway, and then I have more snowball guns, as is appropriate for January, in a little bit. There's your polar bear decal. Good luck, have fun. But yeah, no, I'm just playing the PC game, live server, Emerald, at the moment. Edgewater, I know I was there before. That's where the sniping in that was, right? Or am I crazy? Some options on other continents. Broken Arch Road, not my favorite base to defend. Sungrade, not enough people. Scarfield, not enough people. I'm jumping into Broken Arch. You can do that across continent as long as there's not a continent lock as well, which is kind of cool. Thank you guys for the tweets and retweets and follows and such on all the things as well. I see a handful of those came through towards the beginning of the show, so much appreciated. Oh, I'm sitting here spawning as an engineer because I was looking at the polar bear decal. I was like, what's happening? I can't fly. Anyway, nice, Mini. Grats, man. I could run. Oh, did we fix Battle Hardened, or as for some reason my implant's just broken? I'm so out of the loop this week, unfortunately, and it makes me sad. What are the differences between these two loadouts? A Nemesis? That's it? I do crazy things sometimes. That guy tanked. Running flare as heavy assault right now. I'd say the preferable mid to long range LMG option for VS. Similar to an Ursa, but slightly better, I would say, in a few different categories there. Mustang, in terms of the population of the server, it's still pretty good. I never really seem to have too much trouble finding a fight on any given empire, at least a fight that I'm interested in. Oftentimes there are even larger fights and things like that. I should have checked to see if I had a con or an AV nade. Oh, nice, a friendly BR1 frag nade. That's very helpful. Nice, Faders. Yeah, man. I don't know if you play PS4 or not, but it's coming to PS4 beta in just over a week now, so never a better time. But you can certainly hop back into to the PC game as well. A lot has changed for the better. Worth checking it out. I am not silent. Just a dedicated community member. Good to know, Raw. Thanks, man. I wouldn't mind being at Crimson Bluff from a defending standpoint. I'm going to check it out on the instant action just because it so happens to be available. Depends. I'm sure it's way easier than when you last played, just because there's all sorts of additional means of experience gain that weren't in the game. But if you're going, you know, as a fresh player without any sort of EXP boost membership or otherwise, it's still a little bit of a grind. By today's standards, a little bit of a grind. I was kind of hoping that he was going to pop right around the corner and I was going to do the whole underbarrel shotgun. Didn't work so well. But yeah, there are a lot more EXP sources, and you do have some really good starter weapons by and large, as has been said in chat. This is a little goofy. Oh, totally stole that kill, sorry bro. Kinda would love to... Oh, he's sneaking. It's kinda why I don't take the infiltration cloak all that seriously. I don't know if I'm just experienced enough in the game at this point in time that I find it relatively easy to see it, but I don't know, it's like, unless you're standing still with Stalker Cloak, I always think it's relatively easy to spot, unfortunately, so don't rely on it so much by just crouch walking around. I am running Infill Hunter Cloak at the moment with the Scorpios SMG, which is the directive SMG, but it's very similar to a Eridani. It's just slightly more outfitted for mid-range as opposed to close quarters. You can actually ADS a little bit with it if you need to. Got a guy right here. You can start the pre-fire around the corner if you know what you're spotting and what you're looking at. I was going to say there's a guy somewhere by that rock as well. Utilizing your map not only for infill when you have you know, recon tools available to you to assist with that, but really for any class. Get some feet shot in there. Why not, right? Is huge, especially since I think the average player does not really take full advantage or even anywhere close to full advantage or any advantage of the mini-map and sort of radar recon cues and whatnot that they have available to them. That's bad with this guy with the rocket. So if you can try to get used to that earlier the better. If you can probably rebind keys as opposed to using the default, since they're kind of awkward for things like expanding the minimap and zooming it in and out. That's super helpful as well. Kind of keeps you in control of the situation. And of course, with time, you know, you get more and more familiar with the map or the base that you're fighting at. Like, eat that rocket for him. Then instead of it just being colors on a map, it actually becomes 3D terrain to you, and you kind of can do a little bit better at knowing exactly where somebody is, if they're up on a ledge or otherwise, a little bit more easily. I was thinking about grabbing a Artemis this go around. If I keep getting rezzed, I keep getting rezzed, but it's automatic scout rifle, fairly underrated, I think, by the general populace, although maybe more higher regarded by some of the, you know, more competitive community, if you will, just because of its ability to function so effectively at the mid to long range for an infiltrator who still wants to specialize in relatively close quarters, you know, low time to kill sort of combat. You can make it work with the first gen SMGs or the directive SMGs like the one I'm using right now. As you can see there, a lot of guys in there. Hey, EMP assist. Oh, I kind of neglected the fact that I got risked a few times, and I was like, how do I only have 14 bullets left? But yeah, I mean, just to kind of echo a little bit of what's being said in chat, kind of get the, I was getting rest again there, you kind of get the best of both worlds in PlanetSide with regard to a really large scale, like never seen before MMO style macro strategy fight, not only across bases but across continents and so on and so forth, and even across the server that you're playing on. But you also get that classic feel of just a solid be fighting at that point in time. So I just thought that was really cool. I could get my fix of terrific gunplay at like a tower fight or something like that, but still be a part of something so much larger and in kind of a seamless world, or at least seamless continent in this case. So even though I tend to prefer kind of like the TDM aspect of the game, it means a lot more to me to be playing PlanetSide than your typical other arena shooter, just because of the kind of impact on the global scale and kind of the all of the extra facets and variables and things like that that come into play because of that. Wow, that was interesting to say the least. I thought he was going to hop off that. Lightning might have seen me, which is not cool. Oh boy. So anyway, Artemis here, as you can tell, much more limited in your magazine, but clearly quite capable, even at those longer ranges when you need them. And even at the close ranges, especially if you have a laser sight on it, which is kind of a little bit contradictory maybe, but it's able to help you out when you need it. Hey Dana, how's it going? Hey Shivrin. Oh man, it's a loaded question if I've ever seen one. I don't know if I want to seriously answer it, but I guess what I can say, even though I haven't been in the console community since like the days of Grand Theft Auto Vice City, so that says a lot. But I know it's grown more and more hostile and volatile, and any other words that rhyme with "isle" words over the years, even just as it is. So that's valid concern. But we do our best to foster the right community, right? Everybody listen to Rel's videos and hope to contribute to a better place on our axis. And I mean that with complete sincerity, even though it sounds like I'm kind of being sarcastic. But yeah, I mean it's up to us by and large to try to foster the communities that we want, and kind of hope for the best beyond that, right? Consoles generally appeal to a broader and younger, audience, just by pure definition of their accessibility. But that's not to stereotype. We can still hopefully make the best of it and instill our old man PC gamer values. Not that we have a lot going for us with as of late in terms of community volatility of our own, but try to stay out of the drama. I think, if I can say so, and I'm not somebody who just dwells on Reddit or anything like that, so I usually ignore probably the negative side of it a lot of the time. But if I can say so, in however the hell long, 18 years that I've been playing PC games online at this point, definitely still the best communities I've ever been a part of in PlanetSide 1 and PlanetSide 2. compared to any other game. So that's kind of I don't know. I think that says something. Oh boy. That guy got lit up, and I'm so sorry. I lost a man. I will send you a tell momentarily. I should have just taken that one kill and ducked and healed, but I get greedy. Shit. Shucks. Sorry, PG-13. Yeah, so thumbs up on the 720p 60 as opposed to the 1080p 30. I think 1080p 720p is like more of, not, I don't want to say a myth, but more of a, I don't know what the word is, but I think you catch my drift. It seems like if you don't know what quality is and you just see source, most of the time you know, the average viewer, at least I should say, not the high fidelity connoisseur, but the average viewer is not going to notice a whole lot of difference between 720p and 60 and 1080p, but we'll notice a huge difference between 30 and 60 FPS. So that's usually why I end up favoring that when I have to make the choice. But I'm glad to hear positive feedback on that. Yikes. So, well, that's interesting. This will be a significantly better spawn point. I really want to get on top of this building if I'm going to play Light Assault here. Yeah, they've definitely made a handful of optimization updates over time. Mostly, things probably about a year ago was the huge focus of the optimization efforts. But I mean, they always optimize when they can. Even in the smaller patches, a lot of bug fixes and optimization changes. But wow. But I'm sorry to hear that. If it's running at a, you know, kind of an unplayable FPS. You can always try to tweak whatever you can, but at a certain point, such as the life of PC gaming, if the hardware is just not up to speed enough, literally, then there's only so much you can do sometimes. But they did make some really great efforts and kind of strides in that regard with the optimization updates. Yeah, I know, Computer Techie. It's a huge habit of mine, as you can tell right here. Great example. But I'm okay with the change. I just hope that they make it so, like, if I press my reload button, it doesn't actually do anything. It's just null. Because if it actually triggers like a wasted reload or, you know, anything like that, where you would lose time, then that would be really unfortunate. Oh god, he's got an auto shotty. Or semi-auto shotty. But I'm alright with the change otherwise. I think it makes sense from a balance standpoint. I just I'll have to like stop using the gun if it becomes this sort of thing where I have to retrain habits just for one weapon. That's I think the one thing where it becomes a little bit irritating. And that's same sort of thing with like the close quarters sniper rifles. I like the Ghost and SASR and things like that. When I was getting used to them with a 4x scope, I almost just, well, I definitely used them less than I would have otherwise, just because I hated retraining myself with that sensitivity for only that one weapon, for only that one scope, when I've gotten so used to just running a 1x scope on everything else in the game, pretty much. So that alone is the reason why I don't use them as much, or am, you know, not as good with them as I think I really could be, in comparison to, you know, when I'm using a 1x or something like that. But obviously that's not always desirable. Wow, man, he carried that big mini chain gun right over that wall. Oh, he didn't even do most of the damage. That's good to hear. It shouldn't be too artifacty, but yeah, I mean, when you have a higher resolution, same bitrate, you're going to get a better quote-unquote quality out of the pixels that you're working with the lower resolution. So good to hear, man. If this is enjoyable for you guys, this is what I normally stream out on my channel, but I'm happy to deliver it here as well. But yeah, supposedly and I say supposedly, but I did get to play PS4 version of PlanetSide at SOE Live, and everything felt really good. Of course, it was in a significantly smaller fight than what you would get on live servers, but supposedly the optimization for that game running ultra quality or similar graphics, or comparable, I should say, is in a really good place. So that'll be kind of cool if you can, you know, kind of essentially get acceptable, if not good, FPS for all intents and purposes. Wow. And just kind of surprised that guy tilted to the left and broke line of sight with me, but he was still able to hit me. It was kind of awkward. Didn't expect that. But yeah, supposedly if you're running at it ultra and it feels good, then even better, because the game's really beautiful. I play on, you know, high graphics and textures and stuff like that, but a lot of the individual settings I turn down just for performance reasons. But oh, it's a max on the roof. That's never cool. But yeah, the game looks awesome on ultra. So if you get that kind of as a bonus, then there you go. Yeah, I need to go back to finishing my last year Axon. Yeah, I mean, it certainly should, Mustang, if not better, depending on settings. I'm running 3500 bitrate, Jelly, which is yeah, their Twitch's max recommended. So I try to run the maximum quality that I can for you guys, as recommended by Twitch. The only thing that I could do theoretically higher at this point that I don't is if I got a means of capturing at 1080p 60 FPS, I could do that, but my current capture settings afford either 1080p 30 or 720p 60, one or the other, and I tend to prefer the 720p 60, but all other quality settings, bitrate settings, and you know, downsampling, resampling, upsampling, sorts of sampling, and I'm making upsamplings at this point. You know, everything else is the maximum recommended amount. As long as my ISP doesn't act up, it's usually in good shape. You got a ring around the res going on over there. I think they're all down for now. Yeah, man, if you were my Mustang 60 or if he was Mustang 10, that'd be pretty interesting. Yeah, Flash Rolls. It's I'm using second PC for streaming. Set up with the ItZMuRdA Live Gamer HD capture card, which is a little bit dated. Whoa, what? I don't think any part of me hit a grenade keybind. What the hell was that? That was interesting. But anyway. Capture card's a little bit dated at this point in time, I'd say, just from a standpoint that, you know, you've got affordable software that captures at the same or better, quote-unquote, quality, as well as additional, you know, encoding means such as QuickSync or NVIDIA's encoding. There are certainly ways to get the same or better quality without necessarily having to invest quite the same that you maybe needed to 2 years ago to achieve that. But it's a solid setup that I've used for the past 2 or so years, and you know, with minor upgrades along the way in terms of that. Kind of just secondhand parts in terms of as I upgraded my old gaming computer. A few things I purchased especially for it, but. It gets the job done and doesn't really take any performance from my gaming computer. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you'll hear all sorts of different things. I was actually having this conversation with somebody earlier who knows a lot about the topic, and kind of hear all sorts of different things. About what is quote-unquote the best when it comes to kind of stream setups and whatnot. But mine has altered very, very little, I think, over the past maybe year or so once I kind of fine-tuned it. And as long as my ISP is not acting up, like I said, I usually hear good things about it, so I kind of just leave well enough alone, and I'm pretty happy with it. But while I haven't used NVIDIA's encoding, I have heard some very good things about it, so it's possible that there's a way for you to optimize that a little bit further, but I wouldn't be the guy to necessarily advise you on that, unfortunately. Yeah, computer techie, I think so, man. If I don't know how much you've paid attention to the H1Z1 hype, but it is pretty massive. Just as a quick point of comparison for you, and I don't want to rain on PlanetSide2's parade, but this channel that you're watching right now, PlanetSide2's Twitch channel, has what, just over 20,000 followers, if I recall? H1Z1 Twitch channel has over 47,000 followers, more than 2 times as many, just as a quick comparison, and it's not even out yet. So that's interesting. Yeah, maybe taking a different approach with marketing or promoting the hype around the game. You also have like the DayZ community and survival community that took a particular liking to how promising it is. But if you've been in any of these pre-launch sort of things, the hype surrounding it is pretty large. So I'm certainly looking forward to it. My good friends at SOE putting out another AAA title that hopefully will really kind of take flight and be very successful. And I'll certainly be playing it as well. I don't know exactly what my H1Z1 future will hold yet, and we'll have to see. Of course, PlanetSide as a game at face value is something that interests me more than H1Z1 as a game at face value. Well, it was an interesting drop pod situation, but love the community, love SOE, and happy to support any of their endeavors and kind of just see where that takes us. But I'll certainly be playing through early access and all that, streaming it on my channel as well. Naturally, L2PS2 is still going to remain L2PS2 even during that, but a handful of my quote-unquote spare time on my channel will be, wow, I was very, very careless there. I think I'd get the free kill since it was a light assault. I'm such an idiot right now because somebody's been shooting at me for who knows how long, and I'm just like avoiding. Finally. Hey, Elusive. It's normally an hour show, Psycho. So there's about only 6 minutes or so left in it, unfortunately, for tonight. It used to run 9:30 to 10:30 Eastern, or 6 to 7 Pacific, or insert your time zone here. Or 6:30, yeah, I don't know what I just said. Anyway, as of this week, I'm going to kick it up in a half hour. I don't know if that really helps out our EU watchers or not. It's only a half hour, but nonetheless, I'm jumping it up. It helps me out, and I think it helps the viewers out. Previously, it was only delayed because of prior shows that came on before, like Inside the Player Studio, but since that moved, I went ahead and took the... I'm just going to get sniped again doing that. The slightly earlier time slot. And we'll go with that until SOE tells me that there's a conflict. I am going to give away a NS Deep Freeze snowball gun, though, in like the next couple minutes here, probably after I die this time around, which is going to be pretty soon given the situation I'm in at this very moment. Is there another infill or something up here? There totally is. I was going to say, I see dots. There's 2 of them. Look at that. So I'm going to give away a NS Deep Freeze snowball gun. On the bottom of the screen, you have to type in the code just like the polar bear decal if you're here for that. It was included in the holiday bundle this year, as well as last year as a standalone kind of fun holiday item. Comes with a title if you get a silver medal with it. Snowballa with an A is the title. You can't purchase it right at the moment, though. It's a seasonal item, so if you don't have one already, you're going to want to type this in if you are the first dude to do so. And congrats. Here it is. Yeah, so I have one of the Razer Goliathus extended control pads. It's like 90-something centimeters long, or some crazy nonsense. It's really overkill, but playing on extremely low sensitivity, it's helpful. I always had the kind of the XL Goliathus control pads though, so even those are like 3 or 4 times the size of a standard mouse pad. This might actually be larger than a doormat. If it was a little bit taller, like Skilo, anybody remember that? I'm probably too old. Some of you have to remember Skilo. There's enough of you in here for that. Anyway, I wonder what he's doing right now. Maybe he's watching the show. Who knows? But yeah, if it was a little bit wider, taller, whatever, it would totally be like 2 doormats. I use a Razer Naga 2014, which is, you know, not really recommended for this sort of game by any stretch of the imagination, and I probably concur with that unless you have a reason to want the extra thumb buttons and accessibility on keybinds. I typically would, you know, go for like a Death Adder or a G400 or something similar, typical mouse with, you know, the extra, you know, 2 thumb buttons or whatever, and have at it, one of the ones with good sensors and whatnot. But I've been using a Naga for quite some time. When my gaming brought me to MMORPG days in between my PlanetSide 1 and PlanetSide 2 escapades. I think the first Naga came out, and I don't even remember, 2007, 2008, 2009. I'm sure you can Google it. And I got one that very Christmas that it came out, and I've just used a Naga ever since and got used to having the thumb buttons for keybinds. And then when I came back to playing FPS games more, I still had the mouse, and I got used to you know, making my weapon switch and my crouch and my sprint and my knife and, you know, like activate ability in a game like PlanetSide or, you know, something else like that. All of those keybinds I started putting on my mouse, and it was just, I couldn't shake that. So whenever I have to use a different mouse, I'm severely gimped just from that muscle memory. And I had the original Naga and the Naga Epic, and I've had the Naga 2014. I've had a few different models over time. Thankfully, they've improved upon them and improved upon the sensors nowadays. So you're getting a, you know, decent mouse still, sensor-wise, and performance-wise. Plus the somewhat priceless ability to have all of those extra keybinds available to you, which isn't necessarily something that matters if you make it work with additional keybinds as it is. But I'm a huge keybind fiend, so I like it. I feel like it's worth, even if it's a sacrifice in the mouse sensor over other mice, which I think they're bridging that gap more and more with the newer models. I still feel like the buttons are worth it to me. But that's a personal preference. If I didn't use it, I'd probably use a Logitech G400, just because I always had good success with the MX518s and the MX500, and before that, and you know, the whole Logitech MX, which has basically become G series of mice, and even the Mouseman Dual Optical, which was like my old school 1990s mouse that I just played the hell out of ET with. I know I saw some sort of question, can I snipe in the trees? I don't know if that's really my style. Might make for a relatively boring show, but maybe at some point if the opportunity presents itself. What was I going to say? I don't know exactly what the question was, but I saw something about DPI and so forth. I do play at 400 DPI, which again brings me back to circa 1990s. But that's always been my preference, and with that, oh boy. I'm using a Pulsar C now, so that's kind of unfortunate because I was going to go for the underbarrel shotgun there. But anyway, with that is also 0.1 sensitivity in game, so that takes an extremely low DPI and makes my actual sensitivity IRL extremely foolishly low. I usually don't recommend any sensitivity quite that low but I do prefer low sensitivity as a general rule of thumb. It's just something I've gotten used to. I've used almost the same sensitivity, be it through websites like mousesensitivity.com or actually measuring it out with a ruler or yardstick or whatever for more than 10 years. As long as I can remember, I've always had the exact same sensitivity or as close to it as I could possibly reproduce. So it's just something I've stuck with for better or worse, despite it being really low. Maybe I'll get to, next episode or whatever, somebody remind me, turn on the cat cam over there, and for those of you who don't watch my normal stream, can kind of see the ridiculous mouse movements and whatnot. But that is about all the time we have for tonight, unfortunately. But like I said, some awesome stuff going on. H1Z1 Early Access in just 3 days on Thursday, January 15th, 2015. I'll be playing that over on my stream at ItZMuRdA.com. Hopefully right from the get-go on day one, or at least as soon as I get home from work. And hopefully many of you guys can join me and hang out and play that for a bit. You'll see that on my channel for the foreseeable future, at least. But I'll still be doing PlanetSide L2PS2s every Monday night right here. And next week, fast forward to Tuesday, PS2, PS4 beta. That's going to kind of like leapfrog with H1Z1 because, of course, PlanetSide is my priority. And I'll be learning how to use a controller, and I'll be completely terrible, but at least I'll learn kind of the control scheme and the UI and how things work, and be able to hopefully answer questions that are PS4 driven. And hopefully we see a whole lot more people for the better in our, joining our community here real soon. And I'll be back with L2PS2 next Monday, the day before the PS2 closed beta release on PS4. So it'll be a lot of fun, lots of cool stuff, exciting things going on over the next couple of weeks here in the SOE communities. And as I said at the beginning of the show, I just thank you guys for your patience on nights that I don't have my stream up and things like that. It's just been really busy, both at work during the day and then helping out the family prepare for a huge move in the evenings. So tomorrow, Wednesday, kind of up in the air as far as, if I can prioritize my time and do things then as, and then have some free time Thursday, Friday for H1Z1. I'll probably do something like that. Monday I'll be back here for PS2. Tuesday I'll be back here for the beta launch. So I'm just trying to prioritize my time to make sure that you guys get the best content as often as possible. But I appreciate everybody's patience when there's nights that the stream's either delayed or can't be on or anything like that. But that's just a short-term thing. We'll be back to normal before long. But thank you guys for everything, for the support. And I will see you next Monday on L2PS2, if not sooner, over at ItZMuRdA.com. You guys have a wonderful night, and look forward to H1Z1 Early Access and PS2 and PS4 Beta. Take care, everybody.